Afternoon, everybody. This is Jay Guerin with the Omaha CIO Forum. In my Rolodex process or chat box or podcast, whatever you want to call it, coming to you and wanting to talk about artificial intelligence, AI. It's a topic that everybody's talking about. If you were at the Omaha CIO Forum golf outing, that was pretty much the topic of every one of our panelists. It is important. It's going to change the way you live. It's going to change the way you work. It's going to change technology substantially. What is also going to change as a byproduct of AI are a lot of the processes, the downstream processes, the supporting processes associated with AI and how you utilize AI. One of the important areas are the processes that you use, the processes that you use at work, the processes that you use at home. Processes are ways to identify how business works, how your life works, and it's very, very important. I have with me Jackie McQuillan, who works at .com, who I believe is a process expert. I've worked with her for several years. I've watched her take rock solid processes and basically turn them back into oatmeal, needing to be changed, needing to be reviewed, adding a lot of logic to it. And that's probably one of the best parts of continuous process review is making sure that it still works. So with that, Jackie, can you tell people who you are? Give us a little intro.
Sure. Hi. So we've worked together for several years. What's that, about 2 decades, which is really scary. Jackie McQuillan. I am, like Jay said, I'm the service management manager for .com, which means I get to do processes all day long. And as my husband says, good for you, but gross. It is what I love to do. So I've been in IT for a long, long time. My first dabble was when I did project management I was a business analyst for an SAP project back in the day. So then I went the business analyst route, did some project management. My degree's in hotel restaurant management. So I mean, the IT stuff, I hang out with IT people, but really I'm all about the other side, the process and the end user. So that's what I do now.
Very cool. A little bit, some of the processes at your current place, .com. What are some of the things that you've done that you're very proud of? How about that?
Well, working for .com supports the city government, city and county government. So just in and of itself, it lends itself to paper by nature. So I came in and I tried to identify any place there was paper, whether it meant somebody had to upload something to send to us. So tried to automate quite a bit of that, whether it was using a tool such as Smartsheet or Adobe or whatever electronic thing we could introduce without, cutting what we needed to do for compliance or for reasons like that. And then just overall, I came in and my trigger is when somebody says that's the way we've always done it, which doesn't mean it's wrong, but I kind of push back on people and say, explain to me why you do it. Because again, there are reasons why we have to do things the way we do them, especially in government. But what I found a lot is people will do the same process for a long time, could be causing them pain. They may not realize it's causing them pain. They may not realize there's a better way to do it. So I like to come in, have people explain their as-is process, and I ask a lot of questions, good or bad. We'll get to a point in a process and I'll say, well, why are you doing that? Well, what does that do for you? Do you have to do it? What's the outcome of that particular step? So I think that's what I like to do, is try to fix pain points for people. And sometimes they don't even realize it's a pain point. Whether it's, working with the team and helping them set up some favorites, or, getting rid of steps that are redundant, things like that. So it doesn't have to be big, heavy lifting stuff to make a big difference for people.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite stories, my favorite Jackie story, was we were working at eBay PayPal together. And at eBay, they had literally thousands of consultants. So many consultants as they deemed alternate workforce. And the trouble with the alternate workforce is the HR department wanted nothing to do with these people. They said, hey, that's a finance problem. And the finance people said, we want nothing to do with it. That's an HR problem. And Jackie brought that to my attention, said, we can take this over. And I kind of I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. So it was like a scene from that movie where they were trying to find Saddam Hussein. That gal said, "I know where it is." Every morning she would come in and she would say, "How many days that we found Saddam Hussein?" Whack, up on the window. And finally, I just relented, and Jackie built a process that managed thousands of alternate workforce people for eBay, onboarding, payroll, offboarding, where they were located. It was magical. It was wonderful. And no, I didn't take credit for it. I gave her all the credit for it because I don't do that. But how do you see this I'll call it information um, breakthrough with AI? How do you see that affecting businesses and business processes and all that?
Personally, I use it a lot as a starting point. I recently helped roll out a new IT ticketing system, an IT service management system at .com, and part of just the project component is testing and best practices and stuff like that. And so just the vast amount of information that you can get from AI, also good and bad, it learns a lot about you. So as I've been working through CMDBs and, how should I set this or that up? And I want to align with ITIL, but what other methodologies do I have? And based on that, I can say based on that, what would be some directions I could use? And then being able to tweak the prompts. And so, you can't use it as a, for me anyway, it doesn't replace processes, but it does give me a starting point. I can have it build matrices and test plans and things like that, and then tweak from there. So I would say it saves me hours and hours of
Mm-hmm.
starting documentation. Something I've discovered, this year is, I was hesitant. I was late to the table, I think, with, comparatively for AI because it seems a little creepy on the surface. And it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, you don't need that. But it has been a game changer for me. I discovered that for like Lucid Chart, and I'm sure any of the process mapping tools, I can use ChatGPT to help me write a prompt, or I give it a prompt and tell it what kind of process flow I want. And I can use AI and Lucid and it starts it for me, which is huge for anybody who's sat in front of a process document and tried to put it down on paper with all the diamonds and the lines and all that kind of stuff. So really that's what a lot of it is for me. And then of course, just I interact with a lot of people. So having it, whether it's grammarly correcting my commas or, just kind of giving me a different tone, because apparently I have a tone that isn't always friendly. So, just some of that kind of stuff I think has been really helpful. It just is able to go through a lot of data. That's my primary use for it, I think. But just scratching the surface on what it can do.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that you hesitated there for a while to really grab onto it, because I did the exact same thing. As I did another speaking thing where I talked about blockchain. Blockchain was going to change the world when it came to banking, and it did some good things, but it wasn't necessarily as profound as everyone made it out to be. And I started, I mean, I learned how to generate Powerball numbers using OpenAI. But it has proven to be very, very beneficial and a lot of other stuff to me. And I'm looking at, one of the traditional, I'll call it technology migrations or path to excellence or whatever, is everybody tries to find a way to monetize it first. How are we going to monetize AI? And that's the thing. And then finally, people who are in leadership positions, they start to go, oh, we've really changed the business and we have to adopt other parts of it. At .com, do you see the leadership at .com understanding that, or are they still in a wait and see mode?
Well, obviously the monetization of it is not where we're at, but it is a really big deal for us because of the, some of the privacy issues and just, what is out there and what people share in their prompts. And, .com supports all the different departments. So, we have police and fire and the hospitals and the vets and all that kind of stuff. So for us, it's been, our security department has been leading the charge on this. I know in the state of Nebraska, the leadership at the state of Nebraska is very involved in AI. And so I think we've embraced it very early. It's hard to get ahead of, but we are a Google shop. And so we were able to, obviously we stuck our toe in ChatGPT. Google started out trying to charge people for Gemini, but they backed off of that, and it's part of our, it's part of our package, part of the work suite. So, having some different tools, but definitely our security has been really sending lots of communication about use it, but use it wisely. Be careful what you put out there. They've just embraced getting the training and everything. So I think it's for us about informing people and making them aware about the different ways they can use it. And I would say certainly in our industry, it's going to be used differently than it would be in a pure technology, because we're really a support function. But you don't think about that. I mean, and then it does, like I said, it does learn about you. So that's good and bad. It is a little odd. I've had it write the biography, like you're supposed to have your 10-second or 30-second elevator pitch. It's kind of cool for stuff like that. It's helped me write some job descriptions that made my job, it's very neat. But I also now can recognize it a lot more. So when I see something, I know some of the things to look for that I know are not written by a person. And so I take that with a grain of salt, right? I mean, it doesn't replace conversation. It doesn't replace customer service, but it can get you to where you're getting the right answers quicker, I think.
Yeah. We had an opportunity with a customer, and we kind of got in at the last minute. They said, yeah, you have to basically fill out this 14-page RFP to see, to become a vendor for us. And it was like, and they wanted it by noon the next day. I loaded all the information into ChatGPT, and we spit out a really nice RFP response. I feel kind of guilty for that. And if whoever got that is watching, that was just a joke. I didn't say anything. But our time is running out, kiddo. So what are your final thoughts on AI and the impacts on humans and business and all that stuff?
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely going to replace some jobs, but I don't ever want to diminish what people do, because, I think it's a matter of being able to, I always want to try to free up people's time, and people get kind of, worried about that. Like, you're going to automate me out of a job. And we're a real small organization. That's never my job. I want to give people the opportunity to do more value add work that they get more satisfaction from. And I think that's one of the things that this does for us, being cautious about it. But again, it doesn't replace everything. So it's definitely it's made a huge difference. I think it's just starting as everybody embraces it. We just have to, not forget about the people side of it, though. It's not going to replace conversation. It certainly can get you started, but it's still just as frustrating to me when I talk to a chat bot on, sometimes I just rather talk to a person. So I encourage people to dabble with it if they haven't, because I was very skeptical. And now I'm a big advocate.
Nice. Last question. Who's your favorite boss?
I refuse to. This is a public, I'm sure people can listen to. So as not to incriminate myself, I plead the fifth.
Okay, that's all right. You don't need to answer. I know. So anyway, the My Rolodex series is brought to you on the CIO Forum website. Is brought to you by Midwest Cloud Computing. If you've got a problem, I have an answer. Call 402-702-5000, and we'll get someone working on your issue as soon as we can. Jackie, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us. As always, insightful and really good time talking with you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.